Hello, and a very warm welcome to this course on parenting children.
Scilla and I want to say we're so glad you've decided to do this course, which is designed for parenting children aged 0 to 10. This is one of 2 courses we run on parenting. The other is the Parenting Teenagers course for parenting 11 to 18-year-olds.
We recognise that some of you are parenting on your own, others as a couple. Some of you may have stepchildren, or you may not have children at all, but you have an interest in parenting.
Whatever your situation, you're all very welcome. And we believe that you'll find the investment of your time on this course will pay off for your family.
We have 4 children, Kirsty, Benj, Barney and Josh, all now grown up, and 3 grandchildren so far. In developing this course over the past 20 years, we've used our own experience as well as learning many valuable tips and ideas from parenting experts and hundreds of other parents.
During the course, you'll be hearing from a number of those experts, ranging from psychologists to counsellors, as well as teachers, parents and children. We also asked some people on the streets what they enjoy about being parents.
It's an amazing experience, full stop. There's, right from the beginning, it's just like a very interesting, full of surprises journey.
True satisfaction in your life.
I think it's just when you come home at the end of a really long day and you get a great big cuddle and someone very beautiful like Ceci and Jude just saying that they love you. I think that's the best thing about being a parent, without a doubt.
Yeah, I've never felt so much love before. It's amazing, never. It's weird.
For me, definitely. It was when my boys were about 8 to 10 and I had my youth pepper game playing games, football, cricket and swimming and...
The fun. We enjoy being together and we've had good days and bad days, but the good days are definitely much better than and more good days than bad days. They're just normal kids and we just love them.
I like them when they were really little because they had very little problems, but now they're big, they've all got big problems.
Everything comes alive again and you feel young at yourself and you enjoy things that you might have gotten a little cynical about, without a child. And the world just looks exciting and new.
We are under no illusion that parenting is hard work, but it has its hilarious moments. One of the best pieces of advice we were given early on was to write down the funny things our children said or did, as otherwise we would so easily forget them. So we got ourselves a book.
One of my favourite entries was when one Friday evening with our 4 children, aged between 4 and 11, we were driving out of London in rush hour traffic. It had been a hectic day and I hadn't had time to read my mail. So when we stopped at red traffic lights, I was busy opening letters. One envelope was marked private and confidential. And Benj, looking over my shoulder, asked me what confidential means. I tried to think of a way to explain that he would understand, and the best I could manage was it means only for you.
Half an hour or so later, we bought a McDonald's meal to eat in the car. I was taking orders, and on asking Josh, our 4-year-old, what he would like, he replied emphatically, "A Big Mac and confidential chips, please." With 3 siblings and the frequent need to share, this new word was a very useful addition to his vocabulary.
There are lots of things to enjoy about our children, but what do children like best about us, their parents?
I think the best thing about my mum and dad is that they're always fair and they treat us with the same respect.
They give us quite a lot of sweets. Only special occasions they do.
My mum is amazing. She has done so much. I can't imagine what the both of them what it would be like to be one of any of them. They are fantastic.
They always watch football matches with me when I want to watch them, when it's like Chelsea, and they cheer for Chelsea because I like Chelsea. And really they want to cheer for Arsenal.
They look after us very good.
Well, sometimes they're a bit annoying, but the best thing about it is that they love us and they pay attention to us instead of anybody else.
Well, I partly agree with what Emma said at the beginning. They can be a little bit annoying, but they are really fun and and they pay full attention to us, like Emma said.
One of the challenges of parenting together is the need to present a united front, as we're likely to have different approaches to many issues. For example, one of us may be stricter and the other more lenient.
I remember Scylla had a rule with our children that they could eat as much as they wanted at tea time, but once in bed, no more food was allowed. Then sometimes I'd come home and go up to say goodnight, and one of them would say, "I'm so hungry, I can't get to sleep." I'd immediately take pity on them and ask them what they'd like, a sandwich, banana, toast. They'd end up having a 5-course picnic in bed. Scylla found it really frustrating and ended up cross both with the children and me.
Well, not surprisingly. Another difference between Nikki and me, which has made for some challenges in our parenting, is our different temperaments. I'm much more volatile, and everyone knows exactly what I'm feeling at any particular moment.
While I'm quite a bit calmer, my danger is to bottle up my feelings and bury hurt and frustration.
One of our 4 children, Barney, is just like me. Over the years, we've had quite a few clashes. On one occasion, when he was about 8, I actually threw him down the stairs. Now, I need to add straight away, I definitely didn't mean to. Barney'd been naughty and I was furious with him and I was trying to tell him off, and he was equally cross. He decided to make a dash for his room, which was just at the top of the stairs. I ran after him and grabbed hold of him to stop him getting into his room. He held onto the door handle for all he was worth. And suddenly, he lost his grip. And because I was pulling so hard, he went flying past me straight down the stairs. And I was left looking on with horror. Thankfully, he didn't hurt himself.
Barney now takes great delight in telling that story. He also says it worked to his advantage because Scylla completely forgot what she was cross about as she was so shocked by what had happened.
Well, we certainly haven't got it all right in our parenting. I think many of us as parents can feel inadequate or a failure much of the time. We can easily put unrealistic expectations on ourselves and on our children and take the blame every time something goes wrong.
We hope this course will be an encouragement to you and you realise you're not alone in the challenges you're facing.
We asked some of our parents to describe what they're finding hardest at the moment.
Trying to be more organised with space, that's a challenge.
Sticking by rules when you make them, I think, and being consistent.
When they don't eat food that I've made.
It comes into me at 4 in the morning and kind of gets in, elbows me.
You can't just go to the shop anymore. It takes 20 minutes to get ready just to pop to the shop for a pint of milk.
Not to replicate the things that I didn't like about my parents and the things they did.
The tantrums, definitely the tantrums.
If you're trying to do stories with maybe the 2 older children, but the younger children, the younger child is running around and making a bit of a noise.
It's answering back.
Homework.
I wish that I could be as physical and be as athletic as I think she would love, but it's harder being older, so.
Give instructions or say something more than once or more than 3 times.
Setting the boundaries and keeping to them, sticking to them.
My biggest challenge as a father is not losing my temper.
You tidy up one room, you go to do the next room, you come back and it's a mess again and something else has been spilt, something else has been broken. It's just constant and never-ending.
Trying to have a decent conversation on the phone, that seems to be really the time when things go to pot.
Temper tantrums.
Attitude.
I want.
Tiredness, the 24/7.
Yeah. And they're here for life. They're here for life.
Children present us with perhaps the greatest challenge of our lives, to bring them up to be the responsible people we long for them to be. You may be wondering how you're ever going to do that. We want to encourage you that whatever challenges you're currently facing, and whatever your circumstances, you can build a relationship of love, trust and respect with your children.
Many parents long for there to be a neat formula, some sort of blueprint that enables us to turn out happy and successful children. Sadly, there is no such blueprint.
However, during this course, we'll be looking at some important principles and lots of practical tools to give you confidence in your parenting. Many of us feel under great pressure today to be the perfect parent.
I've learned not to be intimidated by other people's perception of our parenting or that sort of invisible benchmark out there. And a while ago, I challenged myself to stop defending myself. You know, when someone comes in the house and you say, "Oh, sorry about the mess," I am who I am. My growth is not your issue, you know. And I remember one particular day when I'd invited a friend of mine round. She's a lovely girl, she's a lawyer, and she's got all her ducks in a row, she's very particular. And Charlie, for various reasons, he came flying in the back door, he was about 3, grabbed a mug off the side, peed in the mug, went over to the dishwasher, chucked the pee to the back of the dishwasher, popped the mug in and closed the door. And her eyes were like saucers, and I remember sitting there looking at her and going,
During the course, there'll be opportunities to discuss the issues we're covering with other parents. However, it's important to recognise that every family is different because of the unique makeup of both parents and children. And therefore, it's unhelpful for us to compare our own family with other families.
The course provides an opportunity for us to pause and think about where we're prioritising our time and energy. Life really is going at a quicker rate than it has previously. We work longer hours. We're inundated with choices about lifestyles and products. We can be bombarded with messages which demand our attention and our immediate response. Certainly, we can relate to more and more people faster and faster. But the danger is we can only relate to that number of people at a superficial level. And the people closest to us, our family, can suffer as a result. The question we all need to ask ourselves is, are we investing as much time and energy in our children and our family life as we'd like to?
Each session of the course is designed to help us answer that question. We've created the parenting wheel as a visual summary of what we cover. In this session, session 1, we'll be looking at what's involved in building strong foundations for our family life.
Session 2 is about how we make sure our children feel loved unconditionally.
Session 3 is about teaching them to make good choices and how we put in the boundaries. Children need and want clear boundaries. Having limits for their behaviour helps them feel secure.
In session 4, we'll look at how we teach our children vital skills for life, knowing how to build healthy relationships, how to communicate effectively, and how to control anger.
And then, in session 5, we'll look at our long-term aim, what core values and beliefs we want to pass on to our children, and how we do this.
You'll see the rim of the wheel is about modelling values. This is a theme that runs throughout the course. Children are like sponges. They absorb what we do. They're likely to copy us, and actually, what they see us do holds more weight than what we tell them to do.
And then we've put love at the centre as the hub. That makes the wheel turn smoothly, because ultimately, good parenting is all about loving our children effectively.
The course is based on Christian principles for putting love into action. But these principles apply to every parent, and you don't need to be a Christian to benefit from the course.
So, to start, how do we build strong foundations for our family life? The home environment we create for our children is going to be one of the most significant influences on them. We asked some of the children we filmed what their family means to them.
We all like to be together, so we all get together once a week or something and have some fun. We chat, and we just really love each other.
I think the most important thing is being in a family is that you stick together, and whatever you're going through, you must keep strong.
Probably going to take the dog for a walk with Mum and Dad and my brother.
Why do you like that?
Because the dog's funny, and once he pulled my dad into a muddy puddle. It just feels like nice to be with your family.
Yeah, I get that as well.
Yeah, me too.
Loads and loads of cousins and aunts. And on our dad's side, there's 2 great grannies, which is quite amazing.
I think that being a family is mostly about having each other at your side, so when you're in trouble that that the other person can always be there for you.
I like the love of my family.
Yeah.
We're going to be looking at 4 purposes of the family. The first purpose is that a family provides support. Someone said, home is a place where you can say what you like. No one listens to you anyway.
As they grow up, children will experience all kinds of disappointment, struggles, rejection, peer pressure, failure, and so on. Even at a young age in the school playground, our children can feel hurt and rejected. Our family needs to be the place where they know they'll always receive our acceptance, love, encouragement, comfort, and support. where they feel completely safe, and that whatever happens, their family is there for them.
Kay Warren, an American mother, recounted an incident with her daughter Amy, who was desperate to join the cheerleading team in her high school. This is what she said. It really meant a lot to Amy. She wanted to be on that team. She practiced really hard. She went to all of the rehearsals. The day came, she went and she had a great tryout. I was really proud of her. But she didn't make the team. She was devastated. All the way home, I drove this sobbing, inconsolable girl. There was nothing I could say that would comfort her. She ran upstairs, into her room, into the walk-in cupboard, and slammed the door. I didn't know what to do. So, the four of us, my husband and I and the two boys, decided to get into the cupboard with her. And we were all crying and sobbing. After we'd been in there for a while, wiping our noses on our sleeves, I said to one of the boys, "Go and get some tissues." A few moments later, he came back with one tissue and he was blowing his nose. We laughed and the mood was broken. What had been a tragedy in her life turned into something that became a shared family experience.
Amy said later to her mother, "That event, almost more than anything else in my life, cemented for me what our family is. You guys were there for me. You didn't tell me to buck up. You didn't tell me, in the scheme of things, this is not that important. You'll get over it. You just got in there and cried with me."
In our schools in our country, there's a kind of a mini Olympics, and our son was given a position of sub, and he was kind of disappointed in how we dealt with that, because we could say, it's okay. We had to let him kind of mourn that and just mourn with him on that, and that's kind of hard, but yet it's important to mourn with him on that rather than just placating it or saying so. And that's with lots of things in life.
This year he's on the team, so it's in the next couple of weeks, so we're delighted. So he'll get to run.
So, the first purpose of the family is to provide support. A second purpose is to provide fun. Family needs to be a place where we enjoy each other's company, where we're able to lighten up and there's plenty of laughter, where we're not always in a rush and not always telling them off. Children thrive on fun.
We're so grateful to the couple who suggested to us that we set aside some time once a week as a family to have fun together.
When my children were small, they used to have what they call a family night. They would drag their mattresses into our bedroom once a week and sleep on the floor. And once a month, we'd have a super family night. We'd all drag our mattresses downstairs and sleep on the lounge floor together. Now, there's no reason why four people with perfectly good beds upstairs should want to do that, except that it's fun.
We started our weekly family time when our three oldest children were 6, 4 and 2. I was working a lot of evenings and weekends were really busy. We called it our family night. We set aside at least 2 hours and we stopped doing everything else and just had fun together. And we guarded this time from interruptions from the phone or other people.
Initially, we organised it between 5 and 7 p.m. on a midweek evening around a meal and some games. Then, when they were old enough, each child took it in turns to choose their favourite menu and what activity we did.
Sometimes one child would choose something outdoors, such as playing cricket or going rollerblading. At other times, we stayed indoors and would play a party game such as hide-and-seek or a favourite board game. Or we might watch a DVD together or make something like Christmas cards or a scrapbook with old photos. As the children got older, we adapted the timing and activity to their age and stage and tried to make it fun for everyone.
We also worked it around homework or music practice. But we also tried to make sure our children weren't involved in so many after-school activities that our time together was pushed out.
This weekly family night was often a challenge to fit in, and sometimes when we did, it was a total disaster. There were fights and tears, and the game descended into squabbling about the rules or about who'd won. And sometimes it seemed impossible to get everyone's agreement about what we might do.
We just have a great time sitting around and enjoying each other's company. We do have show and tell. Yeah, I was going to mention that. The kids have always got something they want to present to the family, and so they get up and they have this either little Lego people or a drawing or something that they created, and they can be quite intricate. That's really good fun.
I think it's important because it's our special time and we get to know each other, and it's time when they can tell me things. It's time when we're not in a rush and it's not about meeting deadlines or other people's agendas. It's just us hanging out.
We recently discovered badminton, which I, up till that point, had thought that's a really sissy sport, and would much rather have played squash or tennis. But in fact, we found that when we looked at it, badminton just works for the whole family. So it's something that we can all go off and do together.
We just have fun together, and it's always also about the kind of food we're going to eat on the night. There's always lots of excitement about that, and they'll sometimes just make up things like, let's have a cherry cake or something that we've never had before, and then we've got to make that. And
we're just together, and it's a given. It's an immovable part of the week.
Even if people do phone us and stuff and say, look, are you free? The general answer is no, unless the children agree that we are free, and if they want to delay it, then they can.
And they'll actually call it a family date sometimes.
Yeah.
So they really see it as something special that belongs to just us as a family.
Our family night was one of the best commitments we ever made for our family to keep having fun together. You'll see we've put some other suggested activities in the manual.
So, second, a family provides fun. A third purpose of the family is to provide a moral compass. Someone said, we spend 2 years teaching our children to walk and talk, and the rest of the time telling them to sit down and keep quiet.
The family is where children learn the difference between good and bad behaviour, right and wrong choices. Children don't know that intuitively. The family is where they learn. They learn from reaping the consequences of their mistakes in a safe environment. They learn to think about others and to take responsibility to help around the house. They learn about sharing, that it's good to be kind and generous.
Much of it they learn through a steady drip feed of these values, mainly as they watch us. It's no coincidence that human offspring are dependent on their parents for much longer than any animals, for more or less 18 years. Children need all that time because there's a lot to learn.
The fourth purpose, and the most important of all, is that the family is the place where children learn to relate. Relationships are ultimately what life is all about, and the family is where we first learn to love.
The different relationships within the family, parent and child, mother and father, brothers and sisters, with grandparents, cousins and so on, all provide opportunities for children to learn valuable lessons about how relationships work.
Children learn how to relate in a number of ways, through experiencing, observing and practicing relationships.
Experiencing the unconditional love and acceptance of their parents is where the learning starts and gives a child an inner confidence. Children need that confidence to form healthy relationships, to be open, to trust, to share their thoughts and feelings with others.
Some children grow up thinking they could never do enough to win their parents' approval, and they're constantly craving it. As a result, they're not free to be themselves or to look outwards to others. They may bully and throw their weight around because they feel insecure. There are lots of ways that we can boost a child's confidence.
You know, the words we speak are important. And I think they're particularly important for the child that at that time doesn't seem to have much going for them. They're not picked first when the captains are asked to pick teams. They're not great academically, you know. And I think of the little boy, I think he was about 5 or 6 years old, and he was in the egg and spoon race, and he came in last. He always came in last in everything. But as he left, his grandmother put her arm around him and said, "You were the only one whose egg didn't fall off the spoon." We all need a grandmother like that.
Psychologists talk about 3 fundamental needs that we all have for security, self-worth and significance. These needs are foundational to a child's emotional well-being and should initially be met by their family.
These needs are met when our children know their love for who they are, not just for what they achieve, nor for what they look like, nor for how they behave. In other words, that they're loved unconditionally. This is how Ross Campbell puts it in his book, How to Really Love Your Child. If I only love my children and convey my love when they please me, they will not feel genuinely loved. They will be insecure. It will damage their self-image and actually prevent them from moving on to better self-control and more mature behaviour.
I had 2 different upbringings. So I was fostered when I was 4 years old. And so I had the upbringing with my natural parents, and that was in a very abusive, very unstable, unsettled sort of home life, and then going into my foster parents' household where, you know, when Phil first came to the family, it was like hugs all round and kisses, and he was like, oh no, I can't cope. It was all a bit too much, but they've always been very huggy, and the words that they use, really loving words, they really build you up. And I think I've taken from that into how I am with Phil and with the children, that I don't think you can tell your children I love you enough. And, you know, when especially the older two, shh, mum, I don't care, so that's my job, you know. So I always make sure that I go slightly over the top with it.
Our own Christian perspective is that ultimately we derive our sense of security, self-worth and significance through discovering God's unconditional love for us. But God puts us as parents in his place so that our children grow up with an experience of our unconditional love from their very first moments.
Children also learn by observing relationships. This is true whether we're parenting as a couple or on our own. If we're parenting together, the relationship between us will be the most important. It acts as a role model. Our children take in how we relate, how we resolve conflict, whether we show each other physical affection, whether we listen to each other, and whether we're kind to one another. The arrival of children has a big impact on a couple's relationship.
The two big things that tend to happen to new parents, most obviously for their relationship. One is it's an utterly exhausting process. Lack of sleep makes it extremely hard to communicate successfully. None of us communicate terribly well when we're tired. And also it encourages us to drift apart a little bit because it's easy to lose your focus on time for yourselves because all of your time is given to the baby.
I would say that the biggest challenge is for our relationship, because having children definitely has a big impact upon our marriage. The fact that we have less time together, my time is taken up with the baby a lot, with feeding and lack of sleep, making sure that we still love each other.
And I think we've really consciously tried, haven't we, to look after our marriage as well as devoting time to the children.
I remember one time when I was I think it was about 10, I said to my mum, you love me more than Dad. And she said, no, Dad comes first. And I suppose Diane comes first. But the children are really important in that. But our relationship is what must be the foundation of our marriage, and that filters down to the children. And that I still remember that line. I was hurt, but it was like a boundary that was correct. And I have to remember that. We do invest our time in our marriage together.
For those of you who are parenting as a couple, it's so important to look after your relationship.
We run another course called the Marriage Course, and we'd strongly encourage you to go on it, or something similar, whether you're married or not. Investing in your relationship will make a huge difference, not only to you, but also to your children.
If you're parenting on your own, it's very helpful for your children to see healthy role models of two-parent families.
As a single parent, it's crucial to have good role models around you.
When we go to church, they get to see two-parent families and they see how life is different for them. And they see that their parents aren't always so stressed out. They haven't got the struggles that I have to deal with. They get to balance it out between two people. And I really want them to see the good side of having a two-parent family.
So extended family and friends, and that's been very important to us, for her to have these role models that she still looks up to now and has a lot of respect for.
I really want them just to grow seeing it rather than me having to tell them. I want them to see from their friends and from other people around them how important marriage is and how people benefit from it and how it shapes society.
If you're separated or divorced, we'd want to encourage you to do everything you can to maintain the best possible relationship with your child's other parent. It may well involve effort and perseverance, but it can make a huge difference to a child's happiness and well-being. We know a 14-year-old boy whose parents split up 4 years ago. He told us what it meant for him when his parents made a hard decision to come to his school together. He said, "A couple of months ago it was my birthday and I was playing in a football match. All I wanted was for my parents to be there. It was one of the best days of my life, just to see them together."
Keeping a relationship going with my daughter's father has not been easy all the time. In the beginning, I found it very difficult because I had lots of hurts. I think I felt quite proud at the beginning that I was doing it on my own, and I resented him having any part in it, so I didn't make enough of an effort. I always made an effort not to say anything bad about him, but I found it very difficult to say anything good. And with hindsight, I think I should have tried a bit harder.
So they will see, you know, sometimes mummy and daddy don't get on, and they see they are getting on really well. You know, they can have, like, with my son's dad, he'll come over for a meal sometimes, we'll talk on the phone, and my son and my daughter both see that we can get on well for the sake of them. So they do see that although there's ups and downs, we can be positive towards each other.
Finally, children learn to relate through practicing relationships with a brother or sister, if they have one, and with friends. They're learning to love. Now, I understand that you may not describe sibling relationships quite like that. However, in family life, they're learning to play and have fun together and to look out for each other. They're learning how to handle arguments. They're learning slowly, with our help, how to apologise and to forgive. They're learning to get on.
I know from the start, Mum and Dad have been, from their experience of their actual brothers and sisters, they're not very close. They've actually wanted us and worked very hard to us to bond. For about 20 years, me and Christian have actually shared a room. All up to I think I was 20, we shared a room and a bunk bed, which, you know, you learn to tolerate each other as men, touching from top to bottom and sharing a room. You learn to get along, I suppose.
But growing up, you do, like, there is, like, that awkwardness, like, if he brought his friends round, it's just like, oh, go away, sister, you're, like, weird, or whatever. But, you know, as you grow up, you get more mature, and obviously, you know, you bond with the opposite sex and stuff, so it's actually a lot easier to get along, and you actually realise you've got cool brothers, or...
Yeah, you do have cool brothers.
No family is perfect. We may be struggling in our marriage. We may be parenting on our own. We may be experiencing sibling rivalry. No doubt, we will all be acutely aware of our inadequacies. But still, the family is the best training ground where children learn invaluable lessons for life.
We want you to turn now in your manuals to the exercise called Taking Stock of Your Parenting. And what we suggest is that you look over those statements and think about how true each one is for you as a family. The aim is to get you to think about what your priorities are as a parent.